Where does that thought begin? Where did that
Mm,
thought come from? Like, I don't deserve to make money. I don't deserve to charge my worth. Where that's not even my thought. Like, you weren't born with that thought. That wasn't
right.
something that was like inbuilt in you. That's a
Mm-hmm.
thought that was given to you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of dismantling these beliefs that we have to understand what is truly ours and what's not ours.
Yeah.
And that is something that we can do from this level, right? From this level, we can go, where did that thought come from? When was the first time I had the thought that I shouldn't be charging more for this? Or that I can only charge so much for that? Where did that thought come from? Why do I
Mm-hmm.
think that thought? And when I think that thought, who else do I think of? Like, who else gave me that thought, maybe? Also, how do I show up when I believe that thought?
Unleash the untapped potential within you as we dive fearlessly into the realms of healing, personal growth, self-love, and uncharted territories of the human experience. Join us as we navigate relationships, conquer career and business milestones, and explore the depths of spirituality. This isn't just a podcast, it's a manifesto for the resilient, the ambitious, the soul-searching women and men of today. Grab your coffee and let's dive in with Beyond the Surface. Welcome back to another episode here on Beyond the Surface. And today I am joined by Emily, and I am so deeply excited to see where our conversation takes us. So, Emily, thank you so much for joining me today and being here with me today on Beyond the Surface.
Thank you for having me. I'm very delighted to be here, and I'm getting all bubbly I don't even know what we're going to say, but I'm excited for it.
I agree. And I love, first and foremost, I want to give you the space to share a little bit more about who you are, who you are, what you do. And because I just feel like no one could introduce you better than you could introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, I'm a leading expert in teaching entrepreneurs how to run and grow a business. So I've been doing this a lot recently, and especially in the last 8 years. Prior to that, I would be more known as an intuitive healer and business coach. And so I started off my professional career pretty early. Really, I was right out of high school, and I went to massage school and learned energy healing right at 18 years old. And I knew from a very young age, even before that, that I wanted to get into alternative healing.
Mm,
Even doing like babysitting jobs, and like my earliest jobs hostessing at restaurants, I saved up my money to buy books on like homeopathy and crystals and astrology, like not a typical teenager. And so I always knew from a very young age that I was here to help people on their healing journey. And part of that also was stoked from I think I was probably around like probably around 7 years old. I grew up in Northern California, and my parents were renting out a room in our house to a woman who was a massage therapist. So that's kind of like that first sort of knowing. Both of my parents saw Reiki practitioners and acupuncturists. So like it was kind of like normal in the conversation in the
yeah.
family. But my dad was a physician and my mom was a speech pathologist. So like there wasn't like an emphasis on alternative healing. It was still pretty mainstream and all that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so after high school, I learned massage therapy and energy healing, really advanced levels of like advanced certifications. And I remember we did this exercise at my massage school, and we're supposed to visualize our future business. And we must have been doing like a business module or something, like the one module that they gave us. And so, um, and I remember everybody around the circle was sharing what they saw. And I was immediately like, my heart was racing. I'm like, oh no, I've done this wrong. I totally did it. And everyone's sharing about their room and their salt lamp and their tapestries. And I was like, oh God, it's my turn. And I said, I did it wrong. I'm really sorry. And she's like, no, I'm sure you did fine. Just tell us what came
Yeah.
up of that. And I said, well, I saw my name in these really bright lights, and I saw myself helping millions of people. And So,
Wow.
it's like one of these things is not like the other. I very much stuck out. And, also I'm so down to earth. And a lot of the people I was going to school with were very ethereal and like, oh, like it was like I couldn't even connect with some of them. Some people I made really good friends with, but also I was younger than everybody by like 2 decades. So, like, there was
Right.
that.
Mm.
But interestingly enough, that was the first place that I really felt like I fit in because I grew up in Northern California, and then at 12, I moved across the country to Massachusetts. And then from 12 to 18, I was figuring out in a new land, basically, and didn't really know my place. So that was the first place I really felt more grounded, more like myself. It was the first time I found myself on a yoga mat. And again, it was like, oh, I'm home. Okay, I'm
Oh,
getting this like sense. And when I started to shift into, okay, now how do I make this a business? And I was also doing massage um, full time, really, but I wanted to do more. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to
mhm.
go to college. So I started to enroll in night classes in college, and pretty soon I was like, I'm never going to get a degree at this rate. And so I shifted some things around in my work schedule so that I could do massage, I could go to college, and I had another part time job.
Yeah.
And then I opened up my first business at the age of 22. And I honestly thought at that time in my life that I was behind, like I wasn't doing it right. Everyone went to college first, and then I went to massage school, and I'm opening up a wellness center. Like, this isn't right. And I never gave myself the credit that I really deserved
Mm,
for being as successful as I was at that young age,
mhm.
and doing it all on my own. Like, I wasn't living at home with my parents. I was supporting myself. I was completely independent.
Wow.
And when I graduated college a couple of years later, I was ready to expand the business. My partners were wanting to do the opposite. And so we had to go our separate ways. It was really messy. And like, as weird as it is to be like a messy breakup from a wellness center, is so weird. But I was like, I'm never going to have partners again. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to follow my vision. I'm going to do my own thing. And I continued to do massage and healing on the side, and I got full-time like corporate jobs because I was not making the money that I wanted to be making, and I was struggling. And so
Mhm.
I did what I had to do to just like figure it out. And at a certain point, I was like, nah, this is not for me. I felt like my soul was being sucked out of me. And I shifted back into wellness. I got my yoga certification, and I was like, all right, at this rate, all I have to do is see like X number of massage clients, healing clients a week, and X number of classes, and then I'll be like doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for a while. And I met my husband, we got married and had a kid. And my son was about a year old when I was like, okay, enough of this like trading my time for money. Something has to give. I can't keep doing this in the way that I am. I don't have enough of me to go around. And
Yeah.
also my husband wasn't like the most attentive, helpful partner.
Mm.
So, he would like take the kid when I would go to work and then meet me at the door with him before I could even put my stuff down. And it was like, I'm helping people at home. I'm helping people out of the home. I come back to the home. I'm back at helping people. And it was just like and I started to look at my time differently. Like, it's so much more valuable than I give myself credit for. And I started to kind of like ask for a miracle. Something had to change. And that
Mm,
led me into the world of online business. And that basically opened my eyes to look at how I was running my business currently, what my goals were, and how I could start to shift things around to be a different person to achieve these different levels of success.
yeah.
And I basically made it my declaration to stop thinking and doing and making decisions from the place that I was at, and start using my inner intuition, my instincts, start listening to the nudges that I'm getting from meditation. Because
Mm,
basically the alternatives, like, well, it can't get worse than this. Like, I feel like I'm at my rock bottom. So, like, it's only going up from here. I got no risk. It didn't feel like a risk to listen to my intuition. So I just started to apply what I learned in college in my business courses, apply what I learned about like online business from podcasts and
mhm.
from a course I bought, and then just fully just trust my intuition, see where I was guided. And that first year of online business, I 10x'd my business at revenue.
Wow.
I had $100,000. It felt like it was overnight when I look back at it, but every week I was like going through the depths and the dark shadow work, and I was like healing these past ancestral wounds and these martyrdom wounds, and like I was sick all the time. My kids got sick, my car got totaled, like all this crazy stuff was happening behind the scenes because I was literally becoming a different person and shifting my whole identity. And since that point, I've really honed in my skills to help coaches, healers, and leaders to create a successful and sustainable business. So I teach, I have a course and a certification where I teach people how to do what I do. And it is the first and only energy-based training with a profit guarantee. So unlike all other certifications that don't give you any business skills or knowledge or sales training or marketing, my training does. And it does require students to start charging during the program and then raising their rates, because that is the biggest hurdle for most practitioners. And that's why most practitioners are not getting paid, is because they have this broke healer mindset. I'll just do it for free. Why should I charge for my God-given gifts? And like this whole bullshit around that we are literally dispelling and dismantling and disrupting through the work that we're doing together. So that is my entire life story. There's nothing else to me. That's it. That's all of it.
I love it. You're an incredible storyteller, truthfully. Like, you're an incredible storyteller. You know, one of the things that kind of stands out is I'm curious, like, in a sense, like, what is it that, and it's not necessarily like, it's the whole piece around charging what we're worth and like that disconnect. Like, where do you feel that's coming from? And also, what is the thing that helps us kind of like overcome that little hurdle? Because I mean, I've truly been in that place, and it's such an interesting place to be in, right? Like, you're here and you're just like, and the thing is, you're always being told it's not about the money. It's not about the money. But doing things for free, unfortunately, are also not going to pay the bills.
Totally. So,
yeah,
those are great questions. And the thing is, where does that begin? Where does that thought begin? Where did that thought come from? Like, I don't deserve to make money. I don't deserve to charge my worth. That's not even my thought. Like, you weren't born with that thought. That wasn't something that was like inbuilt in you. That's a thought that was given to you. And I think that's part of dismantling these beliefs that we have to understand what is truly ours and what's not ours. And that is something that we can do from this level, right? From this level, we can go, where did that thought come from? When was the first time I had the thought that I shouldn't be charging more for this, or that I can only charge so much for that? Where did that thought come from? Why do I think that thought? And when I think that thought, who else do I think of? Like, who else gave me that thought, maybe? Also, how do I show up when I believe that thought? So we can start to kind of peel back these layers and start to dissect sort of the gist of the question. For everybody, there's going to be a different root cause. It's not like this is where bad thoughts come from. This is where money blocks come from. It's not like one specific location or thought or place or whatever. But we also have to look at generationally, our lineage and our ancestry. I mean, these are things that we all have a cellular memory. It has been proven scientifically that we have cellular memories. And so it could have been our grandparents, our great-grandparents before that. I mean, it could have been passed down generationally to us around scarcity, around not enough, around you have to work hard to make money, around you think people are going to pay you for that. These are things that are kind of more inbuilt, that we all have these circulating thoughts. Money doesn't grow on trees. And I call these money blocks. And we all have money blocks to some degree. And so I think it's really important that we face those stories, those blocks head on, and get curious with them, because then you can start to kind of take their power away, dismantle them. Like, oh, you have to work hard to make money. Really? So if that were true, the only people who would be filthy rich would be the ones who work the hardest. I know a lot of hardworking people who barely make ends meet. I know a lot of hardworking people who are killing themselves day in and day out. I also know a lot of people who are really wealthy who don't work.
Yeah.
So that's not a truth. That's how you know it's not
Mm-hmm.
a truth. Because if
Yeah.
that were true, it would be 100% universally true. Like the sun rises. That's 100% true. It's always going to rise. Tomorrow, after the sun goes down, it's going to pop up again. That is a truth, right? So it's not actually true. And
Mm.
so that's, and actually I faced this, that story this week because my team and I collaborated to decide on taking Mondays off, having a
Right.
4-day work week and just doing Tuesday through Friday. First, we were going to do Fridays off, and then we realized we teach a lot of calls on Fridays. So we're like, yeah, actually, let's keep Fridays. We'll take our Mondays off. So this week was the first Monday off, and I had already pre-planned a podcast interview. That was a lot of alliteration. Um, so I knew I had to at least do the podcast interview. And so I was working in the garden and my mom had called and she was asking me about what I was doing. I said, oh, well, I've taken, most of the day off to be in the garden and get some sun and just like, hang with the dog. And she was like, the dogs. And she's like, well, you can't be doing that. You need to be back in your office, like look for work, do work harder. I'm like, so the point of no Mondays of work is for mental health. It is to bring my energy to a really high vibration because when I'm outside and in my garden, I feel really good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of what helps me to be a really strong leader. She wasn't buying it. And so I realized I was not there to convince her and she was never going to get it anyway because she only subscribes to that one method of thought. Now, she has been retired for a number of years and remarried, and her husband does very well. And he works still, and he should be retired, but he still works. They have more money than they could ever need. And she was working like a part-time job at the vitamin shop just because she wanted to keep working. And I'm like, give it up, woman. Like, so it's like, I can't change my thoughts, how I feel based on what she believes to be true. And so we have these thoughts kind of coming at us. Furthermore, I'll take it one step deeper, which is in meditation, my higher self showed me what success looks like. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What is that expanded, abundant, joyous feeling look like? And when I saw myself, I was outside in my garden. I was not at my desk being like, look at how abundant I am. I'm working so hard. So that's part of it is like our higher self and our intuition is always giving us cookie crumbs of like, okay, follow this little crumb. Well, I guess breadcrumbs is the right analogy. I like cookies better. Yes. But you're like, here's the little piece. Here's how to trust your intuition. Here's how to live abundantly. Here's how to live in alignment. We can choose to do that or just totally ignore it and keep doing what we're doing and wonder why things aren't shifting and manifesting the way we want. So part of that is like, where does that money block come from and how do we charge our worth? I'll come back to the question because I'm kind of going off on a tangent. So how do we determine our prices? The price is the price is the price. I say it to myself and my clients all the time because really, it don't matter. It don't matter. Because here's the thing. I have sold things that are $7 and I've sold things up to about $35,000. Okay. I have had people who have told me, can I get the $7 thing in 2 weeks when I get paid? I don't have the money or that's too expensive. And that's fine. And it's not to put any shade on them. It's just the fact that no matter what, there's always going to be somebody with some sort of money thing. I have had people who've paid for $30,000+ things, $10,000+ things without batting an eye. And they're like, great, where do I can I just like send you the credit card right now and I'll just pay in full? Okay, great. Can I tell 2 friends? Okay, great. Right. It's like, it's so crazy because once you can understand that the money stuff is your work to do. So part of this, when I was shifting out of my brick and mortar into the online space, this was like all about the money stuff because I had been only doing 90-minute sessions for $125. That's what I had been doing for a while. and I would give my regular clients a discount when they would buy a package of 5 or 10.
Right.
All the time. Like I would get them like $5 or $10 off. Like that was so stupid. When I look back now, I'm like, that was the dumbest discount. Like it wasn't going to make or break them, the $5 or $10 discount. I was like, oh, I'll give you a sweet deal. That's not enough to make them buy or not buy. They just were like, sure, whatever, you're giving me a special. But I had to start looking at, okay, if I want to hit my goal of $100,000 in a year, I am not going to get there by doing these one-on-one sessions for $125 a session. I don't have 120,000 hours to give to this. So either I have to increase my prices or create some offers that are more than $125. And so that mindset shift was, okay, so what else can I do? So I started to do virtual sessions that were 30 minutes, 45 minutes for basically the same price. So in effect, I was doubling my hourly rate. That was like mind blowing for me. I'm like, OMG, I'm seeing half the amount of people and making the same amount of money. OMG. So then I started to go, well, what else can I create? And I started to follow my intuition to ask in meditation, okay, what kind of offers can I create that are going to sell out, that are going to really resonate with people are going to really want? And I would get this little hit and I would just put it out there. And I don't mean like I said it once and I forgot about it. I mean, like I was hustling. I was getting into my email list. I was posting on social media. I was doing live video. I was sometimes passing out flyers still, telling my current clients, telling my friends, telling my neighbors, like anybody who would listen. I was promoting it. And I think that's a big differentiator with a lot of practitioners, is that people are afraid to tell people about what they're doing. And then just they spend more time complaining and crying that they're not making money versus taking that time and energy to promote themselves. And that's part of what I do, is I teach people how to sell with confidence and how to like take the conversation from, oh, wow, Ashley-Ann, you said you were worried about like your pricing. Okay, I can help you with your pricing. I have this program. It's going to help you with your pricing. And you're like, cool. That's exactly what I just said I needed. And I go, all right, great. So this is what's included. A pricing chart to help you, how to get more confident with your prices, how to actually have sales conversations, maybe a script, and maybe like I'll give you a coaching call with it. Would that be helpful for you? Probably. Okay, great. Would you like it? Yeah, I want it. Okay, here's your link. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be from a place of service and love and not like gimme, gimme, gimme. And I think that's a big differentiator. People go, I don't want to sound like, I don't want to be like pushy. Like, well, don't. Like if I said, oh, where'd you get that top? You'd be like, oh, I got it at the store. And hey, it was like on sale. And I also got a red one. So like, oh, that's cool. We don't think of that as selling, but that is selling.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the interesting part, right, is also, I think we talk about the whole money piece and the money blocks. I also look at all of this in this kind of aspect of what is that stopping you of being able to kind of like stand in and really share. And, you know, where is that block coming from, where you feel like, I don't know if I could take up this space. Like you know, the afraid of feeling seen, like it comes up for kind of like money blocks, right? Yeah. It looks so different to all of us, but that's also a piece to look at too. And that's why, you know, really dismantling all these aspects and these beliefs that we have. Yeah. And that's like such a beautiful starting point.
And the fear of judgment, the imposter syndrome, fear of visibility, those are all throat chakra issues. So as somebody who's been doing chakra stuff and knows the energy field so intimately, I can say, I would say 100%, but there's probably like a person out there that's not their throat chakra. So I'll say like the majority of people, when they have those issues, it's a throat chakra issue. So the throat chakra is about speaking your truth. It's also about visibility. And so sometimes, you know, we get ourselves all worried about putting ourselves out there about what are people going to say? What are they going to think? Like, you know, I know when I was just a massage therapist and I shifted into being more of a business coach, I'm like, oh my God, who am I to do this? My guidance told me to come out as a psychic. And I was like, oh my God, no, I don't want people to know this. Like even my husband doesn't really understand that. My clients don't. Like everyone's going to find out and they're going to all leave me and I'm going to be alone and die. And you know, And it's terrifying to come out and really share parts of you vulnerably. We think that when we share these tender parts of ourselves, or the parts of us that, the stories about failure and like what we did wrong in our life, we are so afraid of sharing these things because we think, oh, people will lose our credibility. And
Mm-hmm.
I tell the stories because it gives me credibility. I
Yeah.
tell people about how broke I was as a healer and how I started to shift these things into building a really successful business. Because you know what? There are a lot of healers out there. There are a lot of coaches out there who are like, me too. Oh my gosh. And right now, people who are joining my programs who are like, oh my God, you are a massage therapist. I'm a massage therapist and I'm looking for something else. And I know you know me. We like speak the same language. So I know you can help me. So like
Mm-hmm.
you get the transition and how to price ourselves. And so when it comes to like pricing yourself or increasing your prices, this has to do with your ability to connect with the transformation that's possible through your work.
Yeah.
So if I am new at something and I don't really feel confident that it's going to work, I'm going to do it for free a few times because I need to get my feet wet. I need to like dial it in and really get comfortable with what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
after a few of those, I'm going to be like, yeah, I am really good at this. This is going well for me. It's better than I thought. Now I'm confident because my clients that I have seen are like, holy crap, Emily, that was so good. It was so deep. I shifted so much. I'm making so much money. Now my business is successful. So now I have a slew of testimonials. And I can
Mm-hmm.
think of any of those clients that I just helped, even if they were free, and I can use that as ways to market it and say, like, I can help you with X, Y, and Z because I know I just help people with X, Y, and Z. And sometimes we think, well, it was just that one person. What if it was a fluke? It is not a fluke. I promise you that. It's not. It's the fact that you got that one person to represent a lot more people. And it is possible to continue to do that. So once you have that bit of confidence, then you can start charging a little bit. Then you start to go, wow, this charging a little bit is feeling good. And then you're doing it so often because it's so good and people are referring friends and you're like, I can't charge this anymore. I'm killing myself doing this work and I need to be charged more.
Yeah.
So then you go, aha, now I can feel in my body. It's time to increase my rates. So it's time to increase your rates. You don't sit on it. You don't think about it. You don't wait another year.
Yeah.
You just do it. And it doesn't have to be an incremental. It doesn't have to be on January 1st every year. You just do it when you know it's time. Because what happens, it's your body's signal that says you are ready for more. You're ready to give more. You're ready. Your capacity is wanting to expand so much and give so much more transformations. And you actually can't give that at that price rate. Your energy is not going there. Therefore, their energy is not going there. So it's time to increase if you want to help people at this higher level.
Yeah.
And so then you start to kind of make this dance of like, all right, I want them to have this like $200 transformation, not just a $50 transformation. All right, let's take them there. And then when you give yourself permission to increase your prices, people start having those big transformations. And then you go, holy, what was that?
Yeah.
And you don't even realize what was hiding under there because you didn't charge enough to get yourself there to get them there. I hope that makes sense.
It does. And I'm curious if the other aspect, and I'm curious just your take on this, is do you find that there's another side of it from the client perspective and the person in the exchange, right? Like the difference of how they're going to show up for themselves, not for you, how they're going to show up for themselves at something that is $50 versus something where they have to, where they're investing $200.
For sure. People, there's a slogan in online businesses, people who pay attention. And it's true. It's true. I've offered a lot of free stuff. I mean, lots and lots.
Yeah.
And the free stuff is great to get people in and on your list, which is awesome to build your list. But those people tend to not pay attention or show up because it doesn't actually really matter. So like, let's say you're hosting a free event. I used to do this event. I still do. It was called Intuition Week. And I did it a few times. I mean, thousands of people came to this event. And I was like, but like half of them or less were showing up to the live event, but the people who showed up were like, oh my God, this is changing my life, this is crazy. And so I was like, well, what do I want? Do I want more people to just sign up, or do I want more people to have a transformation? And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to start charging $11. $11 is not a lot, but it's more than nothing.
Yeah.
And so the people who paid showed up. So instead of getting half of the people or less showing up, they all showed up. And they all got a transformation. And so now I have it on evergreen so people can actually get the Intuition Week experience without me having to live launch it, that they can still go through this incredible life-changing thing, still $11. But people have such positive experience. And so whether it's, like I said, a $7 thing or a $7,000 thing, when they pay, they do pay attention. And that's part of what I've seen in my programs. If, like, let's say students, you know, sign up for a program and they're just like not showing up. And sometimes it's like, I know it's because it wasn't enough money. Like it needed to be more money. That's why they're not showing up. They got this incredible, let's say 6-week program for a steal. So I just actually led a program for 6 weeks. There was 4 live calls, and it normally would be about $1,400. That's how much my coaching typically is, like a package like that, 4 weeks, about $1,400. And that's like for a group program. That's not for one-on-one. So, and I have no problem selling out those programs at $1,400. But there was this part of me that was like, you know what? I actually just want to like record it and like have it to just go on evergreen, and I'll sell it hundreds of times over, but I don't really want this to be like a whole coaching container. Like I don't want a Facebook group. I don't want to deal with people's stuff all week for 6 weeks. I just want to come in and do the class and then leave. And then they can have like a bonus if they want with me to give them feedback on their stuff. And so we discounted it to do it for like $300. It was like this crazy, it was, well, $397. So about $400. Was it $397? No, I think it was $297. Anyway, I think it was $397. It was so low. It was low. I think it was $397. And so 25 people signed up right away. We got 26 people in the program. And the first call, most of the people are there. Second call, about half people there. Next call, about half of those people are there. Last call, about like 9 people showed up, I think, or 8 people. Wow. And so that's the thing. If it was $1,400, those people are showing up for every call. They're not going to miss it. And so that's part of it, is like they kind of play at that level, which is fine because a lot of the times if you're starting out, you need the lower price things to like start with, to like wet your whistle, get you kind of going. And this is a great program. It's not to discount the program. Program is amazing and it's going to get people started. And it's a great opportunity to be able to be so inclusive at that price point. And the people didn't really fully show up because it wasn't priced high enough for them to care as much. They're like, $300. And I mean, I would say it on the calls, like, listen, I know that some people can't make the live calls and hopefully they're here on the replay, but this class is going to force you to show up and do the work. You're going to see little by little, your peers are going to start dropping off. And that's what happens. That's human nature. But also as a course creator, for people who are new at this, they think that like if 10 people sign up, 10 people are going to finish. And that's just never the case usually. I mean, if you think of like regular grammar school, like not everybody's an A student. Let's just call it what it is. And we show up and we go through the motions. There are people who just don't care. And that's how it's going to be. You're going to have your top players, you're going to have your middle, and you're going to have your bottom. And it's important to be detached so that you don't feel that their success is because or failure is because of you. And that also comes with time. You know, being able to price yourself in a way that, you know, people are going to show up and pay attention, be able to create a program or programming that is really solid and you believe in. But also we're in a really unique time where buyer patterns have changed in the last few years. So there's a lot of things going on globally that's causing people to tighten up their purse strings. There's a lot of things that are happening with people personally. There's a lot of stuff going on. And so the people who would be like, no problem to a $5,000 program or a $3,000 program, $2,000 program, they're now kind of like, and this is
Yeah,
across the board.
exactly.
It's not industry specific. It's every industry. It's all people
Mm-hmm.
right now, but it's also cyclical, like nature. You
Yeah.
know, things will grow and then they will die and then they will grow once again. Like you just
Yeah.
have to be able to ride out the storm. And so part of that for me, like I kind of mentioned a little bit, is I have some things that are moved to evergreen. So
Mm-hmm.
it's running behind the scenes. It's at a low price because I don't need to be there. I record it once and I keep selling it. That's where I can make the money on the back end. It's just,
Yeah.
we got to do things to get people into it in the first place. So it's a
Yeah.
slightly different business model, but, it's helpful to not put so much energy out there and not see people buying the way they once
Yeah.
were.
Mm-hmm. What's been your like process? And I'm curious, were you always in a space where you felt detached from the outcome? Or at the
No.
beginning, did you feel like you were very attached? And what was that? What did that look like for you to be able to become detached?
Um, I've gone through phases of being detached and being detached.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of depends on a lot of different scenarios. So at first, when I first transitioned into online business and I was just like selling things out constantly, I think I was a bit more detached because I was like, it was new. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to trust my intuition and like put this thing out there. And then people would buy. I was like, whoa, that was cool. And the more I did it, the more people did it. So it worked really, really well. And I think what happened is as the tides of buyer patterns changed, then I would see my attachment style changing because what used to work stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as a business owner, I've done this a gazillion times. I look at the data. And so when I look at the data, not how I did personally, because I know I did everything I could. And then that like workhorse in me is like, do more, get those sales, like keep going, do
Yeah.
more. And that mentality of like, keep going and do more is what led me to get myself into like a state of burnout. And
Mm-hmm.
because like you're like, okay, I'll just push a little harder, I'll try a little bit more, and then the sales will come in, and they wouldn't. And so
Right.
then you're looking at the data, you're like, okay, the sales page was the same, the launch was the same, the offer was the same, the pricing was the same, the targeting was even better, the messaging was even better, the live energy healings was even better, the engagement was even better. So then why didn't
Mm-hmm.
they buy? And
Yeah.
you have to kind of look at this like, this has nothing to do with you. And there's also the part of my brain that we are magnets. This is the law of attraction always at play. So, I started to look at myself like, what about me? Am I not believing in this? Am I resisting? Where am I in resistance to receiving um, more money, more clients, more sales, whatever it is?
Mm-hmm.
And starting to look at myself like, how am I blocking this? Because if I'm doing everything right, shouldn't this work? And for the first few times, it was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to get back up on that horse and I'm going to just do it again. And basically, last year, I think it was last year, 2023, that was the year that I was like, it broke me. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this launch BS. I
Mm.
launched 9 times in a year.
Wow.
9 times. And the year before that, I probably did more, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
But the 9 times, we're looking at results. We're not just like shooting from the hip. We're really analyzing data. And I'm using
Mm-hmm.
money to spend on ads, and I'm paying for my team members. And like, things are not cheap. And so looking at the data, I was like, I don't I don't love these numbers. And I was finding it more and more difficult to bounce back. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
one thing if you get knocked down and you're like, it's all right, I'll do it the next time.
Yeah.
After so many times of like feeling like you just got beat down and beat down and beat down, you kind of have to like make a decision. Like, do I want to keep feeling like shit or do I want to feel better?
Yeah.
And for me, it's always about alignment. It's always about making the choice to feel my best. And so part of that was like, I don't want to launch anymore. I don't want to do this. And not just because they didn't go as I planned, because by many people's standards, it could have been a success. By my standards, it was not.
Right.
However, I just didn't want to feel that way anymore. I always said for years before that, even when I was crushing it, I was like, this is not sustainable. By the way, I shouldn't have to take a nap for 2 weeks after I launch and make a gazillion dollars. You know, like the money is great, but like, I can't people. Like, I just can't, like if one more person sends me a DM, I'm going to fucking throw my phone, right? You know, I just can't. That should not be the case. Like, you shouldn't be pushed to work that hard that you literally can't even enjoy yourself afterwards.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of realization. I had to come to my own like stopping point, my own breaking point. I was listening to Wayne Dyer yesterday. I was baking bread and I was listening to Wayne Dyer and he was talking about the Detaching, and there was this verse around illness needs to be sick of illness. And it's like, okay, so the reason why I had to stop is because I had to be so sick of it to make it stop. That feeling of like, you can keep doing it, but you have to really be sick of it. You have to be sick of the sickness to make it actually stop. And I was, right? It's so good. Isn't that so like
so good?
I was like deep into kneading dough listening to this. I'm like, oh, that's so good. And you know, he's referring to a lot of other things, but I can refer to anything. I can refer it to any part of my life when you're just like, if you're in a bad relationship, it's like you have to be so done.
Yeah, exactly.
That you make it
sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Sick and tired of sick and tired. And so that's what it was like, the catalyst of like, everything has to change. And again, like the way that I looked at my business when I was starting it, like I have to change. Everything has to change. It was the same kind of identity shift. And it's actually led to this place, like my intentions for the year, and I have it on a little sticky note on my desk: play, community, and ease. So if that's my barometer, or if that's my target, I can look at, does this launch make me feel playful? Does it feel easy? Does it feel like community? No. So then it's a no. And so that's a way that I can check my alignment. And when I think of gardening, yeah, that does all of that for me. When I think of evergreen, like it's a bear. Like, I won't lie about that. It's a bear to create a training and the emails and the sequences. And my COO is doing like this miraculous job on the back end to make things all talk to each other. Like, that's a bear. But once it's done, we just check on it. We look at the data. We're analyzing it. What can work? What can we tweak? What needs to change? But it's not like a full on launch. So it's evolved us. And so now where I'm at today is it's given me life back, because now my guidance is saying, that's not how I serve at my highest level anymore. Even that $300 program, that's not how I serve my highest level anymore. I just need to get it out of me so I could be done with that part of where I was. And now what's opening for me is teaching leadership as a spiritual practice. That is what lights me up. That is what's giving me joy. It's bringing my life force energy back. I'm like doing different things. I'm thinking differently. I'm attracting new clients, working with people who have established businesses that I don't have to teach them how to build a funnel and how to get visible, but rather like, let's clear the blocks. Let's go into inner child healing. Let's clear your ancestry. Let's pull up that voice that has been dormant for centuries in your family line. Let's bring it to the forefront so that you can serve from that level. Like some like real deep, hearty stuff. And that's kind of, I guess, where all of this leads, is like, we don't really know where we're going, but when you can start to just keep saying, how do I serve at my highest level, and keep following that, it eventually is getting you to where I believe you're supposed to be going. And it's never done. You're never there.
No, because it's always going to evolve, right? We're always evolving as well on top of that. And that's what I think has been, at least for me, pivotal in the last couple of years, was really shutting out noise. Just in the sense of like, you know, being very mindful of who I'm consuming and whatever that looks like, right? Just on social, but even the programs that I'm investing in and what I'm saying yes to, just being very mindful, because everything, not that it's bad noise. When I say that, I don't mean it's bad noise. It's just sometimes when we, and I find this very true for those that are really starting out, before you get
Mm.
to this place where you're like, wait a second. I know myself. I've got
Mm.
myself. I know what's true, and I can really follow my intuition. I feel like what happens when you're really starting out, or you're just in this place where you're just like always looking, searching outside of you for the answers, you just start to kind of chameleon
Mm.
into sounding like the people that you are investing in. And
Totally.
that's not pulling you closer to yourself. It's actually, I find, pulling you further and further away. And so, these questions that you're kind of posing, of just like having the little sticky note of like, what's my intention for this year? Whatever, however you want to look at it, right? Like, what's my intention for this year? What am I really focusing in on? And having that front of mind, and always making every decision with that in mind, and coming back to, does this get me here? Does
Mm.
this get me closer to my goal? And if something inside of you, doesn't even have to make sense, if it's like, no, don't do it,
Mm.
right? And like, trust yourself enough to know that you are being guided where you're meant to go. And I think it's this piece around bringing back our intuition. And it sounds like meditation is such a big piece for you
Huge.
when it comes to trusting your intuition.
Yes, it's huge.
Mhm.
And, I always thought that I couldn't meditate, like I wasn't good at
Right.
meditation. I
Yeah.
couldn't settle my mind. And like everybody says the same thing when they come to me. They're like, I used to be so bad at meditation, but now I'm so good at it because of you. It's like, I appreciate that. I receive that. Thank you. But part of it is it's like meditation with a purpose. So all of my
Mm.
guided meditations are channeled. And actually, after we're done with this, I'm leading a guided meditation energy healing. I don't write it down. I don't have a script. I'm an open channel, and whatever guidance needs to share at that time, that's what comes out of my mouth. Like, it's kind of like
Mhm.
if you're watching a movie that you've never seen before and you're just like, oh, that's what the character's doing. Oh, like that's how it comes in for me.
Mm.
And so as I'm speaking it, I'm delivering the meditation. And so it always is bringing you through some sort of journey, some place. You're from here, you're going there. And what's interesting is everybody who does the meditations that I lead, they'll start like, okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how y'all feeling? And like, let's be honest, let's talk about it. And
Yeah.
they'll be like, it's been a tough week. I'm like a 2 or 3 or 4. It's just been hard, and I'm stressed, I'm anxious. And after 10 minutes, 15-minute meditation, they're like, I don't even know what you just did. I'm at like a 10 plus. I'm at a 9. I'm at infinite. I can't even
Yeah.
believe how I feel right now. I don't know if I've ever felt this good. I'm crying, or I saw a lost loved one. I met a spirit guide. I saw my past life. I cleared some blocks. Like the things that people say are endless, and it can be on the same exact meditation. Everybody gets something
I
different.
know. Isn't it so
It,
cool?
it's so cool. And I think also when I do meditations, like I can just go and breathe for myself too. I don't have to listen to a guided meditation, but even if I am listening to a guided meditation, I'm receiving something different every single time. And
Mm.
so that's also what I invite people to do when they're listening. And I have a group community where I channel meditations every single month for people live. Do it live,
Wow.
channel a meditation every single month. So it's current, up to date, like here's the climate, whatever the stars and planets and everything is doing, like this is for you right now. And it hits differently, and people are there
Mhm.
live and they're like, that's somehow exactly what I needed or wanted from today. And it's really, meditation helps you to get clear away from your own thoughts. And just like you said, of like
Yes.
when you're absorbing so many other people's thoughts, courses, energy, whatever, it's really hard to decipher what's yours and what's not. And that's the difficult part about being like in a mastermind. I know, like, I would go to mastermind events and there'd be like all these amazing people and amazing ideas. And I'm like, which idea is for me? And it's kind of like you're panning for gold. You just like, just sift out all of the shit and just give me the one, maybe two nuggets that I really need. Everything else can go in the trash.
Yeah.
Like, you really can't,
That's so true.
you can't spend a lot of time with them because it's like endless. And as an entrepreneur, you know, everything is endless already. You know, we're always fixing and tweaking and modifying and growing and evolving. So it's like, that's the last thing you need is like 90 more voices in your head. And so it just helps to quiet. And so prayer is asking, meditation is listening. And I think there's a place, a strong place for both of like, okay, I'm looking to connect with the right soulmate clients who are ready to do this work. I'm calling in whatever it is. Can you please help me with such and such? And meditation is listening, even if you're out on a walk in nature, listening to the birds, looking at what animals show up, what kind of trees, what kind of messages are coming through for the wind, or like, wow, I just saw a turtle. What does turtle medicine mean? You know, like really being able to see everything as conspiring to help you to receive. And so meditation is everything for me. And this morning I actually slept in a little bit and I was so excited, and I keep getting this feeling like my guides keep waking me up at like 5:15, 5:30 so that I can make sure I do my meditation or like a hypnosis process. And it's like, of course I have time then, because like, I mean, it's 5:15 in the morning. And this morning it was 6:00 and I was like, yes, I woke up at 6. And then the first instinct was like, but did you do meditation? And so I lay down in bed, I put in my earbuds and I started to deeply breathe. I'm getting like 5 minutes into my meditation. My son comes up. He's like, Mom, look, I made you this thing with magnets. And I was like, thank you. So, you know, you make space for it. It doesn't have to be 25 minutes or it doesn't count.
Yeah.
I always say if you're starting a meditation practice, just 1 minute. That's it. 1 minute every day, and just start there. And that's how that was like the gateway drug. It was like 1 minute. And then I'm like, oh, I bet I can do 5 today. And then you kind of increase it as you go or as you have time. Even if you're on the toilet, I mean, everybody goes potty every day. So like literally just doing some deep breathing and relaxation, being in the present moment, you can count it all and get yourself into like a streak. And then you start to build, and that's how your intuition gets stronger. You start to hear messages clear. You start to know your voice. You get, like you mentioned, like a hard yes or a no, like these instincts come back to you, and we all have intuition. It's not just some of us. And it's so much easier to utilize when you're listening every day.
Yeah. And I will say, like, just to share, like, I honestly always said I am not an intuitive person. I always said that to myself. And then, you know, I ended up, and I'm telling you, like, your guides are always conspiring for you.
Always.
But it's such a true thing. You know, my old business partner and I, when we came together, she was very much like, she is an intuitive being, and she does Reiki, and she just so many things. And like being in her space and her energy was the exact like guidance that I needed. You know what I mean? Although she wasn't like a paying mentor, it was like we came together and she was like the guidance that I needed to come back to my own intuition, to actually be like, oh, wow. And to be honest, half the time I would say something and I had no idea. She's like, wow, you're so intuitive. And I'm like, me.
You gotta give yourself credit. Well, think about it. Like attracts like. So guilt by association, baby.
Yeah,
guilt
that's so
by
true.
association. And look, I'm in the room with you, so I mean, I don't know what that says about you, but I can tell you that you're probably highly sensitive, and you're destined for greatness. That's all I can say.
It's so true, though. But it's such a, I guess the thing that I wanted to kind of say is just like, when you really build this relationship with yourself and you trust it, it is so fucking cool what happens. Like,
it really is.
It happens to me all the time, especially recently. You know, a couple weeks ago, I was just like, I've been in this very interesting shift in just like business and whatnot, and really stepping into like, these are the types of people that I really want to serve and do and serve. And then all of a sudden, of course, when that happens, I'm being connected with the most incredible people. And I'm like, is this real life? It almost, sometimes you're just like, I can't even pinpoint this and make this make sense, but it's such a cool feeling when you just trust, when you trust yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the answer, right? Like, I feel like, honestly, we talk about, yes, there's so many aspects to learn about business and having a successful business, right? There's like you learn how to do a marketing funnel and you learn how
Sure.
to do those things. But I'm telling you, man, like the piece is like, stop searching outside of yourself and
That's
start
it.
coming in, coming in and really listening. And I
That's
think,
it.
like, yeah, it's everything. And that's what I've been just doing more and more lately, is like, all right, instead of searching for anyone else's guidance, I'm going to my guides. I'm going to my guides. I know they're gonna come through. I know
Yeah.
they're gonna pull through.
And that is the secret weapon. That is the
Yeah.
secret weapon, because the thing is, as we've been running in this male paradigm, we've been using male programming and also
Mm-hmm.
wounded masculine, let me just say,
Yes.
about like pushing with the pain. Like, you really don't, if you don't do this, your whole life will end and you'll be dead, right? Like, that kind of marketing is out. It's out.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, don't miss out. Really? I think I'd rather miss out. And it's leaning into the feminine. It's leaning into our
Mm-hmm.
intuition. It's leaning into what feels good, what lights us up. And actually, when I'm working with women who are high leaders, they're reconnecting with their desire because they've fully forgotten that. They're just doing the
Mm-hmm.
rules. They're just following this sort of
Yeah.
plan. And when you listen to your intuition, it's okay not to know what the next 10, 15 steps look like, because if it feels good, it's going to lead you into where you need to go. And so
Mm.
I'm wholeheartedly with you. I'm on the team of like, just listen to your instincts and follow that.
Yeah, at least, yeah. And I also feel like it's also kind of like the journey that we have to go on too,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, because ultimately, I don't think I would have landed here in this spot had I not kind of detoured for a second,
Not
you
at
know?
all. And
And
also, you need to know your edges, right? So, like,
yeah.
the thing that the beauty about the masculine energy, the beauty about the step-by-step process and framework and systems is that there's edges, there's a container. And so for a lot of people who are so new, they're not even dipping their toe in. And they're like, I just can't do it. I'm not making money. I just can't do it. Like, well, you got to get on the field. You got to get a little dirty. You got to know the rules of the game, play the game a little bit, and then decide, you know what, I'm not going to use this pieces. I'm going to do it over here. Instead of in a stadium, I'm going to do it in a pool. Like, you can change it up, but you do have to get in and like get a little messy, make some mistakes, and then figure out what is your version of that. You
Yeah.
have to know where the edges are, and rules are meant to be broken. So
Exactly, exactly. I always kind of love to like end conversations. I feel like there's so much beautiful wisdom that you've shared, but I always love to kind of end with asking you, you know, if you could kind of distill your life's journey into like one piece of advice, whatever's true in this moment right now, what would that be for those that are tuning in and listening?
wow, that's a big question. Just throw it on me, why don't you? um if I could distill it down to one piece of advice, I really feel like it's being able to give yourself permission to slow down. Um, you know, slow down, because there's so much wisdom that's kept inside of you. And, we're afraid of our own strength, we're afraid of our own gifts. We've been systematically programmed to not love ourselves and listen to ourselves and trust our instincts. And the more that you can slow down, the more you can listen to those things, the more like just incredibly powerful you can become, empowered, embodied, and you become like unfuckwithable when you are fully yourself. And when we can slow down, then we can be very intentional about the life that we are co-creating with source, with God. It's really hard to look at your life and say, I don't like this, when you realize you're like the person who made it that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you slow down, you can start to make calculated moves, setting your attention, being really intentional about the things you do, the places you go, how you eat, how you drink, the relationships you have, like every part of it. I think your life gets better if you can slow down. And I am
Mm.
like the known like Energizer Bunny archetype. Like, I go, 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 go. So,
Same.
and I have all this like fire in my astrological chart. Even though I'm a water sign, I'm like, I am, you could probably tell, you spent an hour with me, like, you get it. But that's where the magic is for me. And that's where my senses really turn on and get activated, that my gifts go wild. Like when I can slow down, that's like the best.
Yeah. Oof. And then I'm just going to say, in terms of us talking about intuition and how cool things are, that was such a message that I needed to hear, because it's so funny. I was like really hearing like it's okay to like slow down right now. You're in a period of time and it's like not the right, it almost just feels like it's not the right time to be taking on so many clients, although I feel like I have to. So yeah, it's interesting. I like received this guidance, and you in this conversation was just like a reaffirming of the guidance that came through. So
and
cool,
so like,
when we trust.
And like take it another step further. Like how great would it be if I could slow down and make more money? Wow, what would that look like? What would that look like? Like maybe this is a period where your prices start to kind of increase and you can be more selective of who you want to work with. And then there you go. You're the expert in that field. You're sought after. You have a wait list. You don't need to see 50,000 clients a year. You see 10. And then you go, wow, that was pretty easy and really light and I liked it. Okay, more of that, please. You just do what you want. So it's good to give yourself permission to get that message and to take it easy. We need to do that. We need to take that easy.
Oh, I'm so grateful for you in this conversation, and for those that really connect with your beautiful fiery energy. Where can people connect with you? Is there anything that you want to share for those that are tuning in and listening?
Well, thank you, Ashley-Ann. This has been a really great conversation. Thank you for holding this container, and thank you for the listeners. If you made it this far, you did a good job. You can find me at emilyarons.com. That's my main website. All of my social links. I tend to be on Instagram and Facebook the most, but this summer I am putting in my intention and really dedicating some energy to getting my YouTube channel off the ground and like really hum. And I have all these followers and I don't know why. There's nothing there for them. So I'm going to make it a real thing, make it a real place. But just connect with me. And I always really love to hear from people. If this message resonated, if my words, something hit, just tell me. I love to hear it. And that's kind of the gift that you give as a podcast listener, is leaving Ashley-Ann like positive 5-star reviews and sharing it with a friend. Like that's what lights us up. That's what gives us that beautiful exchange of energy. So if I said something or she did, like just share the love, keep paying it forward.
I love that so much. And I thank you. And I thank everyone who's tuned in and listened. And I just appreciate you so much in this conversation. So thank you. And we'll see you next week with another beautiful episode.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to leave a review and continue the conversation with me over on social media. And we'll see you in the next episode.